As you saw in the thumbnail, I want to install twisteros. Now, if you're not familiar with twisteros is an alternative Raspberry Pi operating system. And what interested me in it is it gives you a lot more functionality out of the box. It also installs some tools that I always have to install manually myself whenever I load up a Raspbian OS. And it also lets you theme it or skin it so that it looks like other operating systems. So the goal is we're going to see if we can do that, but we're going to take a little bit of a different spin. What we're going to do is we're not just going to use my Mac over here to install it. I actually want to use Raspbian to download twisteros and install it on an SD card and put it back in here. So we're going to do all of this just with the Raspberry Pi 500. We're not going to be using a PC, a Mac, or Linux to supplement, to build our SD card or to burn it. We're going to do it all from Raspbian OS. And what I've done to get us started is I loaded up another OS, just so you could see something different. I have loaded up Armbian, which is the universal operating system. And you can see it looks a little bit different than Raspbian OS. It does include a lot more tools as well. It's more of a traditional Debian-based Linux environment. So you'll see some of the common things that you're familiar with. You'll see graphics automatically installed with, you'll see a bunch of additional accessories here. You have a couple of different browsers. You have Chromium, Firefox. It also comes with FileZilla, Putty. So if you want to do some SSHing, it also comes with a full install of LibreOffice. So if you're looking for that. So I just wanted one in here to show. And actually, we're going to be nuking this SD card. This is what's on the SD card now. What I will be using is this SD card right here, which includes Raspbian OS on it right now, and it's all configured for the Raspberry Pi 500. So we'll be plugging that in. I have everything I think I need here. I have an SD card reader that we can plug into the back that's USB. I have a mouse. I did buy a new mouse. I was going to get the Raspberry Pi mouse, but I decided to get this mouse right here. It's actually pretty nice. It's got these little LEDs and you can change it. It's a lot of fun. It's a good mouse. I like it. So I've also got some paper here and a pen just in case we have to write something down. You never know we have to write something. And of course I've got my YOLO deck controls here so that I can quickly swap back and forth. Well, let me go back. I need to shut down the Raspberry Pi 5. Let's go ahead and do that. It probably wouldn't matter how I did it, but I am going to shut it down properly. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll go through the process here. It is a nice looking OS for the Raspberry Pi, I will say that. Let's go ahead and shut that down. We are going to, looks like our power is off. I'm going to pull out the SD card right here. So this is just a little 32 gigabyte SanDisk, which is fine. You know, the one disappointment about the Raspberry Pi 500 is that it does not support the M2 SSDs like the Raspberry Pi 5. That was a miss. I don't know why they did that. It would have been nice to have had SSD somehow capable. I'm sure somebody will come out with something. I think I saw online where somebody has figured out how to solder the connectors on there, but I'm not sure it would fit in the case or anything. But anyway, so we'll be using SD cards. So here is the Raspberry Pi SD card, there we go, SD card that came with the Raspberry Pi 500, already updated with Raspbian OS, or it wasn't updated, it was Raspbian OS was installed, but I did have to update it, so all the updates are here. So now we're going to go ahead and fire that up. Let me go back over here. Oh, look, I already have some updates. Check this out. Now, we will not be going through the updates. I do have those, but this is Raspbian OS, and one of the things you'll notice immediately that it includes are two apps, PiApps and PiKISS. These are two that I install by default. If you have a Raspberry Pi and you use the desktop environment, you must ensure that you install those apps. If you've not seen these, let me go ahead and bring them up. So PiApps, this is great because what happens is PiApps will install software and do all the tweaks so that you know that your software is going to work appropriately on your Raspberry Pi. And I'll just hit all apps here so you can see some of the things that are in here. So some of these things you may have thought, I didn't know you could put that on a Raspberry Pi 5 because it's not in the Raspberry Pi software store. Or you go to load it, you get the Debian package and it says, hey, you don't have the resources for it, or you don't have the dependencies. This will take care of all of that for you. So if I decide to load Arduino, it would go ahead and load all my dependencies. It's got a script that does all that for me. Like Balana Etcher, that's another one that burns SD cards. We're not going to use that for this example because there's another default app built in, but if you wanted to install that, that would be a little more difficult without Pi apps. And there's some really cool stuff on here. So you can just kind of go through here and browse, or again, you can use the categories and check it out. But you see all kinds of stuff, and really love the folks who maintain this. So that is one option. The other option is PiKISS, which is also very interesting. It does basically the same thing as Pi apps, but it's in a terminal box. And you can see that we have tweaks, we have some additional games, we can install some emulators, multimedia configure, internet. Let me pull one up here that it's near to dear all of our hearts, emulators. And you can see this section has partial 64-bit support. Scripts available include Amiga, Amstrad, Box 8664, Dolphin, Flycat, just all kinds of fun emulators that you might want to try on your Raspberry Pi. And it makes it easy to install. It's just make a selection, click OK, and you're off. So if I wanted to load Vice on this Raspberry Pi, I can do that quickly. Now, that's great. I love that. So again, take a look at that. But the reason I'm really interested in twisteros is I don't have to go and load these manually anymore. It's included in the twisteros distribution. So that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead first of all and find out how you get the twisteros distribution. So I'm going to load up the web browser. And in my case, this is using Chrome. I am not logged in to any of my accounts though for now. So let's do a search for twisteros. Should pop right up. There it is. And this is by Pi Labs. We'll go ahead and expand that. You can see transforming your Linux experience. So twisteros and Twister UI are experience enhancements available for a variety. So it's not just Raspberry Pi. It does work for other single board computers or SBCs. We're going to click on download now. We're going to click that link and we need to select which version we're using. So it looks like this is the version for the Raspberry Pi 4, 400, 5, 500. It does show username and password. I am going to write that down. Now we may get an opportunity to set that ourselves, but we'll need that for the default. So writing that down, got that. All right, let's see if we can download it and see if it'll download at least in a timely manner here. We've got a direct link or we can use a mirror. Let's see what happens when we click the direct link. And we'll just hit download and see. Hopefully it's not going to take forever. It looks like it has started right here. Well, that's not bad. 1 minute left. We can deal with that. Okay, so if we look there it is in downloads. So we'll just kind of move that up here to remind us where that is. So then here's the tool we're going to use. Before we get started though, the first thing I want to do is, let me go ahead and go back to my top-down view. We're going to take our little reader here. Now this is really, I mean, I've got a micro SD card. I've got to go from this reader to this, and then I'm going to plug in the SD card that had Armbian. So this is all I'm using. This is really interesting. This is an old iFi USB card reader. It used to do some really cool things. I don't think it works anymore, but it would upload SD card photos directly from your camera via Wi-Fi to a service. I don't even think the service is active, but other than that, it makes a great SD card reader. So that's why you're seeing iFi. And I'm going to plug my micro SD card into here. Hey, if anybody remembers iFi, let me know down in the comments down below. That'd be interesting. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plug this in to the Raspberry Pi 500. There we go. And get a little light to let it know it's active. Now let's go back over and make sure it has recognized that. And it says right here, removable medium is inserted. I'm just going to say okay. And you can see that. So that's the Armbian. Let me go ahead and close this out here. That's the Armbian distribution. We'll just go ahead and close that for now. And then what we're going to do to burn the twisteros onto the SD card. Oh, here they are right here too. You can see those on the desktop. See that right there? So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to the Raspberry Pi menu. We're going to go to, I believe it's accessories, and then come down here to the Raspberry Pi Imager. By the way, this software is available on Mac, PC, and I think, well, of course it's Linux because Raspbian is. This thing is fabulous. If you've ever wanted to just explore different OSs on your Raspberry Pi, this is a great way to do it, and I'm going to show you why. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my device. And of course, we're using a Raspberry Pi 500. So what it'll do is it will narrow down the operating systems that will run on the Raspberry Pi 5, 500, and Compute Module 5. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my OS. Now, you all are saying, hey, Stephen, your OS is over here in the downloads area. That is correct, but I want to show you this too. If I go to choose OS, check this out. It shows you all the operating systems that it can go out and grab and download and make this a one kind of couple click process for you. You can see just the regular Raspberry Pi OS, 64-bit, 32-bit if you wanted that. But if you were interested in other Raspberry Pi based images, you have Lite, Full, and you have a couple of other options here. That's not the interesting part. The interesting part is, what if you want other general purpose OSs? Like, and this is where I got Armbian. You can see that down at the bottom. But I can get Alpine Linux and Ubuntu, and these have all been configured to work on your Raspberry Pi. You don't have to do anything else. You'll click that and it'll burn it to your SD card and you can use it. So we'll go back here. You also have media player OSs if you're interested in that. So we've got Libra, what is that? Volumio? Volumio, there we go, that's fun to say. We've got Mode Audio Player and Pi Choral Player, so a couple of media players there. You can also choose emulation and game OSs, which I'm sure a lot of you would be interested in. And it looks like the one that is the most optimized for this is Recalbox, which is the basis for a lot of emulator systems out there. So that's a good one to run as well. And then we also have other specific purpose OSs. Here's VEX Tournament Manager. So if you're doing a VEX robotics competition, you have that. Digital signage, if you need a digital signage and kiosks, you can do that. Kali Linux for those hackers out there, Web3Pi, Moodle for those of you doing some instructional design, instructional technologies, online education and training, home assistance, home automation, 3D printing. You can see we can go in here and there's even more. So there's DuetPi, Octopi, which I used to use before I got my Anchor 3D printer. So again, just a ton of really cool stuff on here for you to explore for your Raspberry Pi, all versions. So depending on which version of the Pi you choose, it'll do your, it'll provide a list of those options for you. Noticeably absent, RISC-OS is not or has not been ported yet for the Raspberry Pi 500. It is available for the 400 and the 4, so you can run it there. We're not doing any of those. twisteros, which I kind of wish at one point twisteros would be move into here, but it's no problem because what we're going to do is we are going to use a custom image. You could erase your SD card as well, so that's an option on here. So let's click on Use Custom to use the custom image, and then you can see it automatically went to my downloads, which is a nice feature. So we'll click that, and I'm going to click Open. And the next thing we want to do is choose our storage. So you got to be very careful on this because internally I have 2 different SD cards, but it's pretty smart. It knows which one I'm looking for. You can see right there, it already shows you just the one. It says exclude system drives. Leave that checked and you're almost always safe. So we'll choose that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click this next button. This next button does something interesting for most OSs, and I'm not sure if this is going to work on twisteros, and I'll explain what those things are here in just a minute. Oh, here it is, and it does say that. So it says, would you like to apply OS customization settings? So I can say no, yes, or I can say clear. Now what I'm going to do though is I'm going to do edit settings because I want you to see what you can do right here. This is great because what it does is it lets you automatically set the host name, lets you set the username and password for an account. You can go ahead and configure your LAN automatically. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to say, do that for me. And then you can choose your country, which a lot of times you have to do that within. So we can just get all that done in the beginning. And what it will do is it will save your settings from the last time you burned an SD card, as you can see, as a matter of fact, because it is saying, if I scroll up here, it's saying that this is Armbian. I don't want that to be Armbian. We're going to change that. Let's change the host name to twisteros. And then we'll scroll down here. And I think that gets everything. Time zone. Yep, that's, we'll go ahead and set the local time zone. So again, if this works, it's going to set all that in advance. Now I can also choose some services here. So I've got enable SSH. I always like that. Use password authentication instead of a keygen. Or a public key. And then we have some additional options here. And we can say play sound and then save. So I'm going to go ahead and save. And then it says, would you like to apply OS customization settings? I'm going to say yes. And it says, all right, Here we go. All existing media on this SD card is going to be erased. Are you ready to continue? I do. So I'm going to say yes, and then we're going to have fun watching the Raspberry Pi burn an SD card with an image file. All right, let's go ahead and click yes. Now it's asking for my Raspberry Pi password, and it is writing. Now this will take probably about 2 or 3 minutes. It's not that bad. So let's finalize that. Your has been written. Continue. Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead and close this out, and we'll go ahead and leave twisteros on here because I may want to come back to it at some other point. Now here's the point where I'm going to shut down Raspbian OS. So let's go ahead and shut that down. And once it's completely, and it looks like we've got red right there. So it says we're going to go ahead and remove our SD card reader. We're going to take our micro SD card out. Set our reader aside somewhere. And then we're going to eject our Raspbian. Now, this is the other reason I actually really like Raspberry Pis is, everything's just on here. And so I can have multiple OSs. I can just load up a bunch of SD cards, micro SD cards right here, and I can quickly flop between them, which is really cool. Let's go ahead and plug in twisteros, and I'm really excited about this because I've been looking forward to trying out twisteros. We'll go ahead and turn it on, and then we will hit the screen to let you see what is happening. Let's go back. It may have to boot a couple of times. Armbian had to boot 3 times, had to go through a cycle, so it was running some scripts. Okay, that's a good sign. Something's happening. Okay, so I had this happen with Armbian. So you can see it's red. I had to turn it on again for it to, so I don't know if there's some initial scripts that are running. And then what you have to do is like expands the SD card, does some other things. So let's keep our fingers crossed. We're going to press that again. And then hopefully it's going to boot back up into twisteros. Oh, there we go, twisteros. So twisteros just loaded on the screen. Now see it shut off again. Looks like it didn't shut off, but looks like it's rebooting now. Yep, it actually went through the reboot process this time. Interesting, it did that one, shut down, had to restart it, and then this time it's actually rebooting itself. Boot, baby! There it is, twisteros. Well, I say there it is. We'll see if that's really it. Oh, see, it's doing some more stuff. It's probably configuring itself. Now, I set up the Wi-Fi. I really didn't need to do that. I failed to mention, I have plugged in via Ethernet here. And there we go. All right. Enter your pass. Okay, so we do know from our book, we took some notes, and it said the username is Pi. Now, I entered a username and password from my default configuration, but let's go ahead and do the original first and see if it kept that. Let's see if this logs in. Okay, so you can see it overwrote that Pi and Raspberry from that configuration setting I set up with the Raspberry Pi imager. We hope. Let's keep those fingers crossed. And so now we'll go with what my information normally is, which is my name, followed by my super secure password. And let's see if that works. And there we go. So it did take all that information. So that's really cool that you can set all of that up. I like that. Now I don't have to remember the password. It's the same as what I always use. Now here we are. So it says connection established. You are now connected to wired, which is good. And I'm connected via Wi-Fi. I'm going to turn off. Oh, it doesn't show Wi-Fi up here. It looks like it's defaulted. Yeah, it looks like it's defaulted. Oh, it's actually, let me go ahead and disconnect my Wi-Fi for now. I don't want to use that. So we'll just go ahead and use our, now one of the first things I like is this thing over here is really cool. Check out the on-screen little widgets here in Mac vernacular, but it's showing you your CPU usage on the cores. It's got your utilization of your disk space. That's pretty cool. And it looks maybe even like a network monitor. So that's really cool. All right. So it says, welcome twisteros, continue to set up some useful features, visit links below, blah, 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 and do next. But before we do that, you can see over here, we have our trash can. I already like this setup better than Raspbian OS. I don't know about you, it's more modern. It's more like what I'm used to. So this is more like a Mac feel down here. As a matter of fact, you've got your lightweight, nice looking, powerful application launcher, Thunar, your file manager, which is much more robust file manager. You've got Chromium web browser here, which I like. Add remove software. So you've got the things down here you need. It looks like it's running XFCE right now. mouse pad, and of course you've got Catfish file search. That's kind of nice. So if I click on that, I can immediately start to search for the things on my Raspberry Pi. That was pretty fast too. That's good. The other thing you can see here, PiKISS is already installed, which I love that. I shared that with you in Raspbian OS. PiApps is already installed. I love that. Oh, actually it says it's an installer. Yeah, let's see what we're doing here. Okay, so it's just going to, it doesn't install it by default, but it is an installer that installs it for you so that you don't have to remember the link and go out and get it. That's pretty sweet. At least you have the option whether you want to choose that or not. So let's go ahead and get PiKISS installed. There we go. And then we'll just go ahead and cancel that one. So that one's in. And E for exit. Let's go down there. Oh, just go down there. There we go. Exit that. And then check that out. Once it's done, it changes from PiKISS installer to just PiKISS. So I like that. So we should be able to just start it. I can mark executable, right? Yep. And then it's an executable going forward. So that's really nice. So it takes some of that new, those things that may be new to Linux users and other folks, and makes it a little bit easier for you. So let's go ahead and get PiApps. So this is the installer. So let's go through the install. twisteros already digging it, folks. I don't know what you think. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you're a Raspbian user, let me know. It will exit in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. And let's load it and see if it works. We'll mark executable. And there it is. So you've got all the apps that you want to load here for the Raspberry Pi. Again, all configured to run appropriately on your Raspberry Pi 500. Let's pull up terminal. Now it'd be interesting to see if NeoFetch is already in here. So let's see if NeoFetch. Yeah, NeoFetch is already installed in here by default, which is really cool, right? We didn't have to do that like we did with Raspbian. So just, again, a lot of really nice things already included. Looks like we're running our desktop environment as XFCE 4.18. And you saw our Windows manager is XFWM4, which is perfect for a lightweight system. This is perfect. It's fast, it's speedy, it actually feels, I don't know why, it shouldn't, but it feels faster than Raspbian OS. And let's see, let's go ahead. Anything else? It looks like we have create a new user if we want to create a new user. So if you're going to have a multi-user system, that's good. And then of course you see it even has the Raspberry Pi recommended software, which is always very limited, which is why I like PiKISS and PiApps. This is what you will find on Raspbian OS as well. So you can see just some basic things that they have. And a lot of these are education based. Nothing wrong with it, just not a lot there. If you really want to know what you can load, use these two apps. Okay, we can do the themes. We can do that. I want to do that here in just a minute, but let's go ahead and go through our welcome menu here and see what we have. Yeah, so it looks like we have a basics guide. Let's go ahead and check that out real quick since that link did bring up some interesting things. So there's your twisteros FAQ. And I don't know about you, but things, they feel pretty spiffy, folks. You know, as I click, they're popping up. Community support looks like that is going to load a probably twisteros Discord, I think is what we're seeing. Yep, if you want to join the Discord, you can do that. I might do that later. That could be an interesting one. And then if you want to get involved and help the Twister project, I'm sure that's what this one is. And again, I think these pages are loaded. Oh, it goes back to the Discord. Okay, so you can get involved through the Discord again. Let's go to next here. Now, this is the Raspberry Pi configuration, which sets your time zone, your language preferences, Wi-Fi country, and enable, disable overscan. Now, all of that except for enable, disable overscan, I did with the Raspberry Pi Imager, which is why I love the Raspberry Pi Imager. But let's just let you see what that looks like here if you needed to set that up yourself. And you can see it right here. So change your password. You can see your display. You can turn on overscan if you need to do that. Oh, we can turn on VNC, SPI. Now, the other thing I'll have to see is, can I use Raspberry Pi Connect on here? I love Raspberry Pi Connect. We'll check that out in a minute and see if that's available. Raspberry Pi Connect is a service provided by Raspberry Pi Foundation that lets you remotely connect via GUI or SSH to a Raspberry Pi from anywhere in the world. I use it all the time. I love it. So we'll check and see if that's available. We've got performance. Looks like we can change our performance overlay a little bit and speed things up. I do not do that. I don't like to do it. And then we can set all this. We've already done all that. So let me go ahead and cancel that. Let's go ahead and do next. Update. We can check and see if there are updates. Let's go ahead and let's hit it, guys. Let's just do it. looks like we're good. So latest version, we are up to date. Very good. We might check something else here in a minute. Okay, now enjoy using twisteros. You can always visit system settings to set. Let's choose our theme. Let's give that a shot. Change your theme. Want to look different? I would like to look different. let's change our theme here. Oh, here we go. All right. Okay, so what we're on now, we also have light and dark modes for each one. So I assume we are, what are we, yeah, let's change this to dark and see what happens. Press enter. Oh, got to log back in. No problem, since I was able to set my default. Oh, that does look nice. Yeah, so there you go. There's a little dark mode there. I don't know that I necessarily, what do you guys, where do you all fall on the light dark thing? Leave your comments. Let's go ahead and bring up our twister themes here. Let's do next. Let's go ahead and definitely try Twister 95. I'm interested to see if this would even fake anybody out. Oh my goodness, that's horrid. That is so horrid. Don't show this message again. I kind of want to show that message again. Can I dismiss it? I can dismiss it. Look at that. Wow. Look, it's even got the little start window down here. Look at that. Looks like I do need a little overscan work there, don't I? It is that is wild. Check it out. Games, accessories. That's something, folks. All right. I feel, oh my goodness, look at that. That's even horrible. That's actually pretty cool. Nicely done, twisteros. Not that I would ever use that, but if we've got somebody out there who really loves Windows 95, that would be a good one. We're going to try Twister XP. And I think whenever I applied themes on others, I always, oh man, that just, wow. That is pretty amazing. And you can tell what's really wild is I'm sure the resources are all to the default size. And when we had Windows XP in 95, we really didn't have these high DPI displays. And oh, check it out. It's even got the side loader. Look at that. That is pretty impressive. It's not an interface I would ever want to use again. Actually, the best of all the Windows interfaces, I will say that. XP was my favorite for sure. And I am not going to load 7 for fear that it will crash my machine. A little Windows dig there. I do want to, oh look, 10's on here too. Twister 11's on here. I do want to do Twister X, which should be the, and we'll do dark, we'll do light because that'd be more like that one. This should be like my favorite, which is OS X. Oh, wow. Holy smokes. This is really, this is what usually gets you is the menu up here. This usually is what is not really well, yeah, that's not quite right, but that's not normally done correctly. But look, you can even see the menu bar. We've got our launcher down here. Now it doesn't get the little genie stuff, but you know, it's not bad. Looks like an image viewer. Here's our settings manager. Let's bring that. Oh yeah, it's close. It's like an older version of Mac, but still pretty close. Let me load up Chrome. I want to see, or Chromium, I guess is really what it is. Oh, look, it tried to do a little something there. We'll go ahead and close that. And it does. Oh, it does. Look at this. It skins the, oh man, that is fabulous. It actually skins, now it's got a little something there going on. See that? See that little break right there? So a little something wrong with it, but still, a lot of times when you skin and try and do a Mac, you get these still over here and it's just a mess. So looks like I have just a little bit of work to do, but still that is pretty impressive. And the menus are up here. That's pretty phenomenal because a lot of times, again, what happens is the menus stay up here on top of the window. So they've even been able to get the menus from the apps to appear up here. I could see myself using this just because it'll feel more familiar with what I work with every single day. So that fixes my little menu there. Let's see, does it genie down? No, it doesn't genie down, and it doesn't have a little thing showing you it's running, so that's interesting. But still, a very good approximation. Very good. Here's a little about. If they put the little about up there, that'd be good. All right, so here's our about. We have displays. Here's our, oh, that's pretty nice. It's got the display preferences. I don't know. Well, let me change. Oh, look at that. Can actually do some changes there. Not bad. Can I get to overscan? Can't do that there, but that's pretty Mac-like too. That is pretty cool. Here's our storage. 18 gigabytes available. Here's our memory. It's not registering my memory. That's interesting. And then if I want support, there you go. You can go to Twister. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's do one more. Let me close this. Let's do plasma. Oh, I see plasma. Let's do Cosma. Let's do plasma down here. Let's do it dark. And this may be where we just stick. We are going to just see what's included with Twister OS. Oh yeah, see, I kind of like this. Let's go. I'm going to use this one. I like this one. I'm going to say don't show this message again because this looks like it gives us our Twister, and it also gives us our information about the CPU and some other things over there on the side. That's pretty cool. All right, let's see what comes included with Twister OS by default. So we have our settings. So we have About Me, we have Accessibility, Add Remove Software. I'm curious, let me see what that one is. So that is a full kind of package manager. That's interesting. Yeah, that's getting us a full Debian package manager. So if you want to load other things, now this will not ensure that things are able to run on the Raspbian or Debian base, but these will make sure everything works. So there's probably most of the things that are in here, probably not in here. I'm just curious. Is Vice in here? Yeah, so for instance, Vice is not in here. So most of the things that aren't in here are probably over here. So maybe most of these things will work. We've got some games here. Yeah, you can see that. So there's a way that you can add some additional software. So that is a cool feature there. We also have, going back to our accessories, let's see, our settings, advanced network configuration, appearance, Bluetooth adapters, all the standard stuff that you need. Our desktop, that's definitely the XFCE desktop manager. You can change that. You can change your keyboard, your mouse and touchpad. You can control that, your panel. Here's your Pi apps settings. Here's your Pi configuration. So that's nice. They put all that together because sometimes those are all over the board on some of these distributions. So I really like that. There's our Twister themes, Windows Manager. So you have a lot of options that you do not have with Raspbian OS. So that's really nice. Let's check out accessories. Archive Manager, Catfish File Search. We saw that a little bit earlier. A calculator. That's really nice. Menu editor. So we can change menu. There's Pi apps, PiKISS, Raspberry Pi diagnostics. There's the imager. Very good. So we could load the imager up and we get that here. That is great. Would you like to visit? No, not now. We'll do that some other time. So there is a later version. So that's really nice. I like that. So we do get a lot of the same things we have in Raspbian, which we should since it is kind of a port of Raspbian. We have the SD card copier. That's handy if you want to make a backup of your SD card, so you can do that. What games? Just DOSBox is all we have, so we could do that. Graphics. Doesn't include any of the heavyweights like GIMP, but you know, you can load that. So there's that. Internet, just the web browser, which I like. That's the one I use. I'd prefer that over Firefox even. Multimedia, looks like we have VLC, so we can get anything. Office does not include LibreOffice, which again, I like because that gives us the option to choose what we want to do. And then system. I'm not sure why that's here and there. It's in a disk usage. There's DOSBox. It's interesting. Some of these are Gparted. You need that. HTOP. NeoFetch. Here's NeoFetch. Let's do that one. Oh, didn't run. That's interesting. A little bit of an error there. Looks like the terminal's not running there. Let me pull up terminal again. Let's see, is FastFetch on here too? Nope, just NeoFetch. Not sure why we had that error from the menu, but maybe work it out. And system, and on there. Doesn't look like Raspberry Pi Connect, maybe, let's see. Oh, it does have Wine. Look at this. It does include Wine if you want to try and run some Windows. Oh, it's got Wine Tricks too. So it's got all the Wine packages you need if you want to try and run some Windows software. That's a nice addition. I'm not sure how well that's going to work on an ARM-based system. I don't know if anybody's tried that. Let me know if you've tried that. I do not see, I'm a little concerned. Let me go to all applications and see if Raspberry Pi Connect is on here. It is not. So maybe that has to be installed separately. I think I can do that in the terminal. Let me see if I can do that. Sudo apt install. There we go. Let's get that baby loaded. That is one of the first things I think everybody should do if you want to access your Raspberry Pi remotely. Okay, there it is. Let's see if it loaded up automatically here. Nope, looks like it is did not install it. Let's see if it's in here. So you have to turn it on and then sign in. Oh, so it's, I wonder where there's a GUI for it. I wonder, let Let's see, did I forget something? Is there another piece I should have had? Finally, reboot your Pi with sudo, to activate it. Okay, we need to reboot. Let's go ahead and do that. This shouldn't take too long, so let's go ahead and do that. And let's activate our service. So that'll be a good chance to see how fast this thing reboots. So we'll come down here to power. And, well, that's shut down. Do I not have a reboot option? Was this reboot? What is this? That's just sign out, isn't it? Log out? There it is. You have to do a log out to restart. Okay, we'll do that. Let's see how fast it boots. Now we don't have to go through multiple boots. It's a little slower than Raspbian OS, but that is not bad. That is not bad. All right, let's see if it starts Raspberry Pi Connect for us. It says it will start the service for us. I'm not sure it did. Yeah, I'm not sure. So I will work on that, but I don't know that it did. Let me pull up my terminal here. Cannot start Raspberry Pi Connect. Okay, I'll have to work on that. Oh, look, when it rebooted, it actually filled in these widgets over here with our little dials. I think I'm going to leave it on this theme. I like this. That's kind of interesting. When I click, the little windows are opening below. That's not good for that one. Bluetooth is opening above. That one is, the network is opening above. Battery, is that battery? Let's go to settings, see. Yep, that's just our power settings, so that's working. But whatever this is over here, and I'm not sure what this is, I can't highlight, it's going down below. I'm not sure what's going on there. I have to check that out. And then our date and everything's working, so that's okay. I think I like the first theme better. Let me go back to the very first one, because I think everything was working just a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and we'll do dark. There we go. That seems better. So there's my, yep, okay, that's good. Switch use. Yeah, this just seems a little more fleshed out here. Let's do one more fun thing so that you guys can see it. We're going to go to PiKISS, and I want you to see one of these. I'm going to go ahead and load our emulation, and I want you to see how this works. Come down here to Device. Does it download the ROMs, or will you need to copy them over? This one, I believe, because, here's the deal. Because we are using PiKISS, it will actually grab the ROMs. If we tried to do it manually on a Raspberry Pi, we wouldn't be able to do that. All right, so now it's going to go ahead and run a game if I just hit enter. So you can see what it looks like. Let's see if we get some sound here. Let's see, fire was space, I believe. There we go. Okay, I believe it was P to go right, O to go left, Q up, and A down. Man, I wish I had a joystick. Well, that's a whole lot of fun. Now, if you want to make the changes, what you do is you hit, let me show you this. This gets a little more difficult. You have to hit function, and I think it's F12 on this, so let's see if that's right. Yeah, there you go. And then you get your settings for Vice. So there's no GUI menu, but you do get the Vice menu here, which I kind of like this. So you can make some changes. You can change your video setting, your sound settings. We can turn off our emulator. Let's turn off CRT emulator here. Say none. And there you go. And then go back. And you can see it's cleaner. There you go. So let me go ahead and close this. There you go. And enter to go back to the menu. And then we'll cancel that. And then we'll exit. Come down here and hit exit. If you want to load your Vice emulator, that's the way to do it on a Pi. And it's a really good installation. So I really dig that. Now, if you go to your menu, I think it's normally under the, is it under games? I think is where it sticks it. Yeah, it sticks it under games along with your DOSBox emulator. So if I do Vice here, it'll load that. And you can see at the very top up here, it tells you press F12. Now it didn't save my settings because I didn't resave those. So every time you go into F12 and you change something, you'll need to save your settings if you want to do that. If you're curious about emulation on your Raspberry Pi, you can see we can do an Amiga, but again, I think on the Raspberry Pi, if you're going to do Amiga, you just wait for Pi Amiga 5. You can do Amstrad, Box 64, which is on here, Dolphin, which is game. I don't do any of those. Wouldn't do that. Game Boy, probably not. No, MAME, I might do that. OpenMSX is kind of interesting. I'm not sure what Pi FBA is. That's interesting. PCMU. Oh, there you go. If you want to do an old AT class. PS1. Now that would be interesting. I actually would love to go through the whole Medal of Honor series on the PS1 again at some point. And there's RetroArch again. Red Dream. Scum is on here. So pretty cool. Oh, there's a Speccy emulator. Oh, why not? Let's load up the Speccy emulator for all my folks. across the pond. Do you want to play Ninja Jar? Yeah, sure, why not? Let's play Ninja Jar and see if this thing's working. Oh, I have no earthly idea what to do. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's do 1 for keyboard. We'll do 1 to play. There we go. I don't know. Here's our tutorial. I don't know what the keyboard. A is left, D is right. What's jump? S is jump? No. Space is jump? Nothing's jump. How do I go up? How do I jump? Oh, I just hit something. I don't... Okay. Oh, game over. All right, so there you go. Now we've got a Specky portable on there. Let me go ahead and close this and show you where that is here. So if we go back to games, here's our Specky. And there you go. Looks like 128. Looks like it. That's a pretty nice emulator. 128 calculator, 488 TR DOS. Here's our tape loader. Yeah, press break twice. So I think that's escape. Oh, escape brings up our menu so that we can make our changes. Very nice. I think that's it. That's our look at twisteros on the Raspberry Pi 500. And not only did we load twisteros from Raspbian using the Raspberry Pi 500, we eventually got even a couple of retro emulators on there for the Commodore 64 and the Specky. How cool was that? Hope you enjoyed this look at the Raspberry Pi 500 and twisteros. That is it for me, folks. RetroCombs out. See you guys next time.